So firearms clubs across the country have been making impassioned pleas to MPs to vote in favour of reducing regulation for rangers. Club leaders, often decades-long gun owners, made submissions in support of legislation to revise rules for clubs and rangers in November last year. The bill proposed changes to the time frame, amongst other things, time frame for police inspections and for pistol and non-pistol shooting clubs to be regulated differently. Last week, the Justice Committee published their final report on the Arms Amendment Bill, Shooting Clubs, Sporting Ranges and Other Matters. That's the full name of it. And as I said, in October last year, the New Zealand Deers Association made a detailed submission on behalf of their members. And the CEO of the Deerstalkers Association is Gwyn Thurlow, and he joins me now. G'day, Gwyn.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Now, I know we're in February, but I haven't spoken to you this year, so Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah, Happy New Year too. Very kind.
How long can you go into the year? But anyway, Gwyn, hey, look, it's great to talk again. And I think, Gwyn, for our listeners, just to refresh our memories, what is at stake regarding clubs and ranges?
Yeah, so, it's one of those regulated sectors that came under the new Arms Act laws rushed through with Labor, and what it did was it put a whole lot of regulations on the club network, so the network of ranges, indoor, 50-metre Olympic-style shooting, the long-distance styles, and, of course, all the hunting clubs and ranges all across New Zealand. So that came in 2023. Our association has thankfully had all of its ranges police certified, so we've got a whole lot of ranges, a whole lot of clubs, and police ran the rule over all of ours, and we got the big tick of approval. And of course there was a big kickback from the community that it was over-regulated. The National and Act Coalition Agreement actually had a clause in there that they were going to delete the section in the Arms Act that related to clubs and ranges.
Right.
And this law here didn't go that far, but it sort of eased the regulations in the law on those clubs. And it actually had its second reading last week, I think Wednesday night. So it's been reported back to the House and it's gone through. So it's nearly there for the third reading and final assent in the next month.
Okay, so so you said that this why were pistol clubs and ranges in that, did you feel they were over-regulated for quite some time?
Well, we would be a good example. Our ranges were all deemed to be safe, operated in a safe manner, and since we've been operating under the regime, there's been no incidences or, to the user or the public.
Right.
So it's sort of one of those regulations where they just audited the entire stock of ranges across New Zealand and found they were actually running pretty well. They were actually well designed. There weren't any safety issues, that they should be concerned about. And so I think the easing under the law that's coming through now is a good thing. It obviously didn't go as far as the coalition agreement promised, which was an outright repeal. So obviously the ACT Party and Nicole, the Minister of Arms, obviously compromised on what she was promising to the community at the time of the election. So quite a few people are upset about that.
I was going to say that's a disappointment, isn't it, Gwyn?
Well,
has she given a reason why?
I think she constantly says she's trying to be fair, she's trying to listen, and she balances safety. And to credit to her, I think, police do need oversight on some of the ranges. The level of oversight's up for debate, but, police do need to know where these clubs are, who's operating them,
sure,
that they're doing it safely. That's something the NZDA did voluntarily. And we're just one organisation of many, and I can hand on heart say our clubs do the right thing, but there may be clubs that don't, that they're out of the view of a big organisation. And I think the practicality of it comes in is that the public expect there to be some monitoring on our ranges. And so I think she's compromised, and National haven't honoured the agreement because no doubt Labor would love to regulate us. And I think they wanted to be pragmatic, so that we weren't a yo-yo where laws get repealed and then put back in place. So it's probably the right outcome.
So can we look at a bit some of the changes, and you explain if I'm reading this right. So the firearms policy has moved from police to the Ministry of Justice. Is this a significant win?
This is something that everyone in the firearms community has been calling for. It's sort of putting police out of the position of being the rule maker, the rule enforcer, and the decision maker. There were a lot of powers given to one department, police, and that's certainly welcomed. And what part of this bill actually, which didn't relate to clubs and ranges, was transferring policy to justice. And, that brings greater transparency and accountability. And I think the firearms community on the whole welcome that and see that as a move towards, separating powers and enforcement from decision making, and that's a good thing.
Do you think the police would be disagreeable with this move? Do you think it bothers them, or do they just take it on the chin?
Oh, look, I think lawyers and police always disagree. That's the whole court system, and I think that disagreement gets you to the right balanced outcome. Yeah. So I think, the Arms Act went, there's a whole lot of Bill of Rights that were breached in the Arms Act that police wrote, doctor-patient confidentiality. There's a lot of presumptions, and there's a lot of egregious search powers that only firearms licenses holders are subject to. Right. So police put in a whole lot of powers that no other citizen in New Zealand gives up those rights. And so I think it's a really important that, a lot of people don't understand that, there's really big consequences if you want a firearms license and you waive a whole lot of basic rights. And we're told we're privileged to have them as well, which really annoys a lot of people.
Another one is all your clubs, the NZDA clubs, are now certified and automatically enrolled.
Yes. Thank goodness for that. I mean, it's a huge effort that we put over the last year to lodge all the paperwork, comply with all of the mountain of forms, do all the assessments, do the paperwork that the police, to the standard that the police required. Yeah. And very pleasing that our organisation and all the volunteers did all that work. A lot of the other clubs weren't in that organised space, and so the smaller clubs, the community one-off organisations like the local gun club and all that, they're really the ones that are struggling. And I do feel sorry for those organisations that are reliant on a small number of volunteers to do all that work. Yeah.
I bet. There's some news that's okay, isn't it, Gwyn? I mean, it's not great news, but you're happy is inspections, because of course gun clubs and pistol ranges and that they get inspected. Ad hoc inspections are gone. It seems.
Yeah, so there's a more sensible inspection regime, and the way that the Act is now split between pistol clubs, which are still highly regulated and highly managed and inspected, and then you got the non-pistol clubs, which are effectively deemed to be a low-risk type of firearm. They're your like 22s, Olympic shooting, clay shotgun shooting, and of course your deerstalking ranges used predominantly for sighting in for hunting. And so there's a 5-year regime of inspection. It sort of means that volunteers aren't meeting police on their range at random times. And when you build a range facility and it costs a lot of money, you're not going to change what's as built or how it looks or how it's operated. It's going to be very static. And so, a 5-year regime feels about right to us.